Do you feel limited today? I'd like to ask that question of all my friends. Greetings, all of my friends. I send you a great embrace of divine, powerful love, which is healing and lifting and energetic producing and gives you all abundance. All abundance is you're enabled to do through the unlimited power which is poured out upon you from our divine source, God. And so I give you that embrace right now, and I bow before you in humble request that you turn to your divine source and receive all of this wonderful power. But I want you to answer that question down below. Do you feel limited today? Get back to me on the, do you feel limited in any form? I mean, any form. You say, well, I basically got a beautiful family, beautiful children. I'm doing beautifully well, got, a good job, comfortable. But I'd like to have, a whole lot bigger house, or I'd like to have it in a better location, or I would like to have cars, okay, but I would like to have a new one, more of a luxury car, and also, have a little fun with kids and everything, and have a nice little sports car, like a Porsche or a Maserati or something like that. Why not, just have a little fun, and be in a location and neighborhood where other people have Maseratis and Porsches. And you say, well, I feel limited in that way, but I don't feel limited in the fact that we are comfortable. But I do feel a little bit limited in being able to do things like that. And maybe I don't get to play golf as often as I'd like to. And when we go on vacations, we can't go as far as we'd like to. So I do have a few limitations like that. But I want you to know this morning you have no limitations whatsoever. Okay, another person is going to say, well, I'd like to go back and get a master's degree, or I'd like to go back and get a PhD or a doctor's degree in something, or become a lawyer or some other type of thing, or I would like to be an architect or engineer, or if you're already an engineer or architect, I would like to get past building a small building. I'd like to build a gigantic building, build one like it's never been built before. But you'll all of a sudden, every time any of these things come up, the first thing comes up is I am limited to a certain amount that I can do. And I used to always say that, as I was back in my 20s and 30s, and I'd say, well, I mean, from the time I was in grade school, I visualized this massive house, that would go, the house would be a whole acre in itself, and it'd be on, 100,000 acres. But the house itself would be a whole acre, and it'd be, 2 or 3 stories at that, and a lot of underground tunnels and everything else. I visualized that I would have in that house, and it was all electronic, and it would detect as I walked through it. Every door would just open automatically, and everything would just be at voice command, and the lights and everything, and all electronics, speakers everywhere, back at the time when there wasn't as much of the computer equipment as there now. I visualized something like, a computer. The computers were larger. They were computers, but they were larger. I visualized something like a computer that would be on my wrist, and now they have them like that. They would be on my wrist, and I could control everything in the house by that, open all doors and windows and everything by that computer that was on my wrist. And it's getting to where they can almost do that now. And I would have lifts that, that when I moved my car in, it would lift them up and place them, in different areas, and have a whole collection of cars and every type of thing like that. I would visualize, and I'd visualize, that every song and music and all of that I wanted would be just at a voice command, and it would play in every room of the house at the same. Of course, we got that now, but I'd visualize TV screens, large TV screens in every room, and being able to do something like, well, I visualize, you know, being able to see people all across the world and just speak up to that screen, and I'd be speaking to them, you know, and without, you know, tuning into the internet or anything else, just look up there at the screen, and you know, it would just automatically be talking. And everything, of course, was all controlled electronically, and the cooking, you just voice command, and the things would be cooked, and they would just, you know, conveyor belts, but I had something a lot fancier in mind than a conveyor belt that would put them on the table and everything, you know, and all of the different appliances, you know, like a lot of them are now. They have them now where they're computerized, and they tell you when something's out, and you know, and then you go on the computer and you order it, and it shows up at your front door. You put it in your refrigerator. But I visualized all this clear back in grade school. And you know, it was a massive house, and I can't tell you all the details. But when I come along, you know, I just knew this was all going to happen. I mean, I knew then it was all going to happen. And I visualized myself as a great realtor with hundreds of thousands of houses and making plenty of money. And I just knew all that was going to happen too. And you know, a great investor, and you know, with billions of dollars, and I just knew then all that was going to happen. And had no doubts whatsoever. I come along in my 20s and along in there, 20s and 20s and early 30s, and I said, well, you know, all of that, I'm limited in a certain amount. You know, I know I got a lot of degrees and everything, but I would say I'm limited in the size of house, you know, to maybe no more than 15,000 square foot house with, you know, 5 or 6 bedrooms, and I'm limited to that, you know, and I would feel limited to that. And I'd feel limited to, you know, no more luxury than maybe a Lincoln or Cadillac or something like that. I didn't feel like I could own a Rolls Royce or Maserati or Lamborghini or anything like that. So I'd feel limited, and that's limitation. But now I know there are no limitations. I can have whatever size house I want, and I'm going to have the size house I want, and I'm working on that right now, and I'm getting it built, and it's going to be, you know, the dream like what I had when I was a child, because God told me the truth back then. Our source, our divine mind, told me the truth. He told me then you can have this, and He doesn't go back on it. And now He's said, I have realized that there's no limitations. You see, He's going to go ahead and fulfill that. And I'm going to have those nice cars, and I'm going to have all of that. And I'm going to have houses in different, you know, different states and areas of the country, maybe even some overseas, because I'll have investments in a lot of areas and everything. All that's working out, and a lot of that's come to fruition here, you know, not just in the past few years. And but how else, you know, you tell me, what other way are you limited? Because when we think about all these things, we start realizing just how limited we feel like we are. And then once you realize all that and you really face up to it and are honest with yourself about how limited you actually feel, then you're on your way. Because then all you got to do is make that connection. See, that's what I wasn't doing. I wasn't making that connection. You know, I mean, I knew as a child of God and all like that, and I was born again, and I knew that I was, you know, going to be immortal one day at least. And I knew all those kinds of things, but I wasn't making the connection between me being the immortal, eternal, divine Son of God, taken after the image of God who is infinite, and having all those infinite qualities within myself, making that connection between that and having this house, which He told me back then I would have. I wasn't making the connection there, or between those cars. And so what you start doing is you start saying, oh, well, you know, I really don't need that, you know. I mean, a 5 or 6 bedroom house, you know, in a fairly nice neighborhood. Well, I'm comfortable. I don't really need, you know, a big house like that. And I don't really need to have a Porsche or a Lamborghini or a Maserati or, you know, all the fun you can have with those. But I just really, you know, I can do without that, you know, and I don't have to be located. I don't have to be in the finest golf club or club that there is, and I can do without that. I mean, there's exclusivity anyway. And I can do without all of that. I can do without associating with the best people and the highest quality, and I can do without having more than one house, having a house in other places. I can do without traveling to Europe every year, and so you start making all these compromises with yourself, and but because you're not making the connection. No more compromise. I'm not going to make any more compromises with myself. I am the divine being, an immortal child of God, an immortal offspring of an eternal God with immortal qualities, and I passed across that interval called death, and I moved into the land of abundance, and I'm not going to limit myself anymore. I'm going to have all those things, and those things, of course, are not going to control me. They're the being, doing, having power of my mind, but they're not my mind, and they're not my soul, and they don't control me. And I'm going to have love in my life, and the love is going to be the most important thing that there is. And the woman that will back me up and be my helpmate will be the very most important thing that there ever is. And what she wants is important. If she says, I don't want that house, I just want to live in a 2-room house, she is the most important. And I'll say, let's sell it and move in that 2-room house. I'll do that in half a second. But I don't think there's any woman that'd be stupid enough to do that. The only thing I won't compromise on is the fountains, the fountains and the waterfalls. I got to have those even in the 2-room house. Each one of those 2 rooms is going to have fountains and waterfalls, and I'm going to have them in the little small yard, But if she says, we're going to move to the back, we got to move to the backside of Timbuktu, or I won't be happy, or in the middle of a forest or something, I'll just say, okay, let's go. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do what that woman wants, and I am going to love her with all I have, and I'm going to constantly be upgrading that love too. I'm going to constantly be upgrading that love and working on gaining hundreds of times more ability to love her as Christ loved the church, give himself for her, die for her, and lay my life down for her. Because if she says she wants all of these nice things, I'm gonna lay down my life to get every one of them for her. And it's it's just going to be a matter of no limitation anywhere, and all of the things that I want, with the only thing that will cause me not to do certain things will be if that woman that I love decides that she wants it in a different way. That'll be the only thing. Otherwise, all abundance and all freedom and all I'm gonna go all the way, and help people all around the world. And we're going to have conferences and everything, and have classes and things like that. But let's move on. What is your limitation? And let's ask this too. Are you giving that woman that you have, or that mate that you have, or that husband that you have, are you giving them the kind of love like I'm talking about, an unlimited love like Christ loved the church, and honoring that husband like we honor Jesus, and you all working together to honor one another and respect one another, and have no limitation on the respect and honor you give to one another, and have no limitation on the amount of love. Lay down your life for one another, and if both of you will lay down your lives for each other, and no telling how far you're going to go. You'll go a lot further that way than you will be if you try to, not do it. But what is your limitation, and what is your goals, and what are your dreams? And I want you to increase your dreams. Say, my dream is this, that, and the other, and I'm just going, right now I'm going to multiply it 100 times because of what I've heard Spirit of Ecstasy say. Because I know that God is going to grant it. My divine source is going to come in and give me the power to do it. And so dream those dreams and accomplish them now, and I will talk to you a little later on Have a very good evening.